Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Outside the Box Football Podcast. I'm joined here by Marcus, aka the Whole Boy. How we doing, mate?
Nervous, mate. I haven't done any football content in blooming ages, but we'll dust the boots off. Thank you for having me, mate.
So, right, well, now's a good time to start. And today, I'm going to be talking about your own club, Hull City, on how much of a interesting season they're currently having, and how much they're defying the odds of what people thought of them come the start of the season. But the only way to talk about that is to go back to last season, right? Last season, I mean, a couple of things happened, didn't they? Liam Rosenior, he was sacked, and I think was it the
Uh,
summer? What was your thoughts on that?
yeah. Do you know what? That still haunts me now. I mean, you look at him at Chelsea, he's unbelievable and a really nice chap as well. But ultimately, everything works out in the end. But last season was certainly not one to. Well, it wasn't exactly the season of history, was it?
No, no, it was not, and that is because Hull City, if you didn't know, podcast viewer or listener, they finished above relegation on goal difference. What I can remember. Tell us about that. What went on there?
Yeah, well, start of the season, we had a manager called Tim Walter, and I don't think he got on very well with the team. I remember sitting just near the dugout and hearing him every match was difficult as a fan. He was very aggressive, and that was his way of, playing. But we have a lot of confidence players, so when I was watching it, I was thinking, well, this ain't going to end very well, especially with such like a big sort of impression to make. I mean, you're replacing Liam Rosenior, who was one of the most well-regarded managers we've had in a long while, and it certainly caused outrage him getting the sack. Which equally, you look at the team we had the year before, it was a lot different to what we had last season. But I think everyone was expecting to make some big transfers and being in amongst it, but it didn't end very well. We had a lot of injuries, and we sacked Tim Walter, replaced him with Ruben Sayers, which I absolutely love. By the way, I love Ruben Sayers. I think he's a great manager and a great guy. But um, ultimately, he did the job. He got got us to stay up, and then he got sacked. So who knows, man? Who
Yeah,
knows? Sergey could get automatics and go.
I was going to say, as a Reading fan, we obviously know a lot about Ruben Sellers and the work he does, and I do think that if he did stay with us and not go to Hull in, what was it, December time? I think he would have
Yeah,
got promoted with us, but hey, that's besides the point. And I want to talk about that final day survival. You're against Portsmouth, from what I can remember.
yeah,
1-1 draw, I think. And Luton Town
yeah.
lost 5-2 to West Brom on that day to make them relegated and you guys survive. As a fan, how was it watching? I'm guessing you're watching that game. How was it watching that sort of,
Yeah.
that unfold as a final day survival thing?
Well, I was sat watching it in a hotel in Carlisle. I was doing a run at that point, so we were all very nervous. Me and Harry and our mates were just every day was wondering, would we stay up? I think a lot of people accepted after the game previous against Derby when we lost. Would we stay up? And I think everyone just thought, oh, we're relegated. But we managed to stay up on skin of our teeth. And at the time, we just saw it as it was live. But when you look back on it, goal difference, that Luton game, everything had to fall in place, and it did. And but we had a great team. That's the thing. Like on paper, like we had some great players that season, but it just didn't work out with injuries. But we stayed up, and we look forward, mate. We're doing very well at the moment.
Definitely. And with the start of this season, Ruben Sellers was sacked. I mean, that was a odd decision that a lot of people didn't really, align with. What were your thoughts on that?
Um, I thought it was very weird, especially having just stayed up. He was there clapping in front of I think it was 2,000 Hull fans in the away end. It looked like proper passion. There was tears shed in the away end. There was tears shed on the pitch. That moment felt like we'd finally started to build some. And I think when Ruben Sayers signed, we were told it was going to be a long-term project, and I think everyone was excited. We had a young manager who, he had his tactics, and you'd just never think he'd get sacked after like 6 months in charge. But 2 weeks later, I don't even think it was 2 weeks. A few days after we stay up, you see it on news saying he's linked to being sacked, and we're linked to a new person already. And you're thinking, well, how can you sack someone after such a positive end to the season? No, I say positive. It was a gloom and doom season, but I was very shocked by it. But I think it was just more uncertainty of like where do we go from here? Because at that point, I just thought, well, if you're a manager and you're looking at Hull City, especially one with championship experience, you're going to look and think, well, my job's not guaranteed, and I can't play my style. I just have to do what needs to be done. So it was a very weird situation, but. Yeah, it was. I don't know what happened with Ruben Sayers at Sheffield United, but I still think he's a brilliant manager, and I'd love to see him back in English football.
Definitely. And going into, the start of this season, Hull were placed under a transfer embargo, something that I'm all
Yeah.
too familiar with. I mean, how does that feel, being placed under one of them?
Yeah, it's a weird feeling. I say that it sort of helped us in a very weird way. I mean, not being able to spend money, it makes you really focus on our strategic team and who's making the transfers at the club. And I think they've done genuinely one of the best jobs we've had in years. I mean, I look at the transfer window and Ollie McBurney on a free. That is great. I know we had a few problems with trying to sort his wage and trying to get him across, but the players we signed this season, Gellhart back on loan after a great season last year. Just so many different players, which at first you think, well, will this work out? But every player has played their part this season, and even this January, we've signed some great players. We signed Yu Hirakawa, who the fans love straight away, but he's done his ACL. Toby Collier, yet to see much of him because he's injured. But, we look at the players we've signed and it's all been very strategical and everyone's played a part in it. And, like, we're signing a lot of older players now. And I think that's amazing. Like John Egan being at the back, John Lundstrom, Ollie McBurney. These are players that they're not old, but they've got experience, and I think we needed that for years. We've been signing a lot of younger players with skills, and I think when you put all of them into a team together, it's very difficult to get something going. And I think we saw that when we had that super team like 2 years ago, but it just didn't work for whatever reason. But embargo, we don't care where Hull City and rough up. That did not rhyme. That's not a chant, but there you go.
Brilliant. Yeah. I mean, working that transfer window when you're under tough embargoes, I mean, it's always, really difficult. And funny enough, I'd say that when we had our first season in League One and we were under that embargo and, we didn't really know what was going to happen with the club, the transfer business we did in that season was outstanding. Like, I think it's one of the best windows we've probably had in a very long time. And I think obviously with that sort of, working around the restrictions that embargo gives you, I think you can definitely make some very smart transfers and probably limit yourself to a way that you're probably going to come out better than you were beforehand. So I think it's a good strategy by the EFL, definitely.
Yeah, no, I think well, if you break the rules, you got to pay for it, haven't you? So it's one of those. Also, it's really amusing. I've known you for years, and this is the most serious I've ever seen you. So this is amazing to me. But no, yeah, the transfer embargo. It's a weird one because without going like, I never want to disrespect any teams, but what's going on in the Premier League? It feels like they're caring more about the points deductions in Championship and Chef Wednesday rather than 150, whatever. You know what I mean? We're not going to take that as a pinch of
No,
salt because
there
I'm
we
now
go.
against Man City.
Now, we can't talk about this season without the appointment of the new manager, Marcus, and tell us a bit more about him.
Yeah, well, you've just tried to pronounce his name there and it didn't go very well for you,
Yes,
did
I
it?
was going to say I'm not trying to pronounce the name, so you take it away, my friend. Take it
Yeah.
away.
No, Sergei Yakirovich, he is. Do you know, when he first was linked to the job and we looked at it, I think a lot of fans are like, well, no idea, to be honest. Like, we genuinely, I don't think many people knew a lot about him. He came from, I think it was Turkey. He managed in the Bosnian divisions, and I may be wrong, Croatia, but I think I am wrong. But he did okay there. Like he did well. He'd worked under a transfer embargo the season before, and he'd won the league in his home country. I may be wrong there. That could be horrible ball knowledge, but he was one of those where it was unknown, and I think a lot of fans sort of saw him as maybe another Tim Walter, where we didn't know a lot. And as you'd know, when you sign someone you don't really know a lot about, a lot of people will just tend to put them down straight away. And after the first few games, I think we had a very weird style of football. In fact, it was concede loads of goals and try and score more than what we concede. And for the first maybe 10 games of the season, we had the worst. I think we scored the most and conceded the most. And it was like average like 3.5 goals a game conceded and crazy stats like that. But we somehow every time found a way to score more. And it was just, even now, it feels so weird seeing us in the top six, like top four, because I think a lot of the season we're just like, how is this keeping going? And it just has done. And like really similar now is, no, really different now is he's learned, well, he hasn't learned, he's just implemented plan B and plan C, and he's done really, really well at that. He's tightened the defense up. We're now, keeping clean sheets and games now. It feels like we've always got a direction to go to get 3 points. I mean, we lost to Ipswich, but it was a very close game, and I think Sergei's always got a style, and you need that in the Championship. So I'm very happy with Sergei. I think he's up there with one of the best managers we've had, certainly in the last 5 years. I think if we get up to promotion and with everything that's going on at club, I think he has to be up there in talks of some of the best managers we've had because he's worked his socks off. He hasn't been able to spend any money. Everyone wrote him off and put us in relegation zone. In fact, yeah, I did. I put us second bottom, and now he's up in playoffs doing magic, really.
Yeah, and I love that sort of sense of the underdog story with what Hull are currently going through right now. I think it's you always got to support an underdog, and I think it's really cool to see a figure like not Tim Walter. I was about to say like Sergei
Oh, maybe
Yakirovich.
not,
There we
mate.
go. Sergei Yakirovich is somebody you didn't really know about, and
Yeah.
then go on getting into the Championship with a tactical style. And I think, as you mentioned there, having plan B and C is so important. I think if a manager isn't, flexible in how they can change a game with subs or decisions, stuff like that, I think they don't really go far in the game. And I think having that is such a valuable asset to have to the club.
Yeah, 100%. I think this season's been a whirlwind, and even if we lose in the playoff semis, the final, whatever, I said to myself at the start of the season, we stay up, it's been a good season. And then about 5 games in, I said, right, we could push for like top 15 here, top half. Then after a bit, it's like, wow, top 10s are possible. And now it's not guaranteed, football, there's still a lot of games to be played in the Championship. But I look at the team and I think, yeah, we will get playoffs. And that's not being, trying to be big headed as a fan, but I think how well we're doing. And I genuinely, like, I think Sergei Yakirovich deserves a statue. He's one of the best managers we've had in a while.
Definitely. Is there any sort of games this season which have felt like big turning points for you? Like big, like, oh my god, how have we won that? Or that's a huge win type stuff.
Yeah, well, we lost quite a few games in a row, and fans were having a meltdown. I was having a meltdown, and then we played Middlesbrough, who 2 weeks before we'd lost 4-0. I was there. Was it 4 or 5-0? Remember it being like 3-0 by half time. Nope, 4-0 at half time. You get the point, and we got absolutely battered. We were thinking, right, well, this game could be very much not season defining, but it would prove a lot to us about whether we knew how to react when we lose to teams. And we go to Middlesbrough, our main centre half is injured. We've got 19-year-old or 18-year-old Cathal McCarthy starting from academy, and we win 1-0. And you think, wow, this is actually, this is class. We've learnt from whatever happened a few weeks ago, and we've implemented some great tactics. We've played very defensively. We've nicked the 1-0 win, and it just felt, there's been so many amazing games this season. And like I look back now, and when we drew 0-0 to Coventry at the start of the season, you just think, all right, yeah, we'll take that. But now you look back and you think, wow, that's the team that's top of the league right now, And there's been so many games, especially away from home, we've been unbelievable. Like I think we've won the last 5 in a row away, and we have got one of the best away records in the league, and that's always down to I think we just get how to win games by scruff at neck. Whereas other seasons we've been, trying to implement the skills, trying to do all this flashy sort of stuff. Where nowadays you got Ollie McBurney shoving an elbow, you got John Lundstrom winding the players up, and that's all you need, man. I think nowadays in the Championship you see a lot of teams with these flashy players, these younger players, the pace. But sometimes it's good to resort back to, a few years ago where it was the physical side of the Championship, and I'm loving every minute of it. That's not the question you asked, but you know what I mean. It's not. I think we're doing really well.
Now it's time for the big question here, Marcus. The biggest question of the podcast so far. Or do Hull City, get promoted this season?
Ooh. Well, I said to you the other day when I was at Reading versus Bradford, you've always got to back your team, and I always stand by that. I think playoffs. It depends who gets playoffs, but if we're going by what a lot of people think, it'll be Wrexham, Ipswich, Millwall, and Hull, right? And it really depends on where we finish, and that like we could finish third and get an absolute stinker of a draw, but yeah, I think Ipswich is such a hard team to beat. I mean, we played them 2 days ago and we lost 1-0. It wasn't a bad performance, but I think they've just got that quality. And you look at their bench and you got people like Chuba Akpom there. And it's like, what is going on in this world? But I think I think anything can happen in the championship, and I think it would be really good to see maybe even like a Hull versus Millwall final. Like Wrexham, no offense to Wrexham, I think a lot of Championship fans feel the same way. Um, I love Wrexham's story, with Ryan Reynolds. I don't think it is an underdog story, and that's not to be horrible. I think it's just one of those. But I would much rather see Millwall Hull in the final, because they're two teams that have worked really hard this season and under strict rules, and Millwall's budget it's been difficult. But I think going up, yeah, why not, man? We'll win 4-0 in the final against Ipswich, and we'll sign Jaden Philogene back next season. We'll go with that.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining me today, Marcus. It's been very, very cool to learn about Hull City and, what the season they're currently having. I think it's very inspiring. I think it's a good way of putting
Thank you very much for having me, mate. It's been good I haven't seen you in ages.
it.
I was round your house on Monday, but there you go.
There we
No, it's been
go.
nice to see you, bro.
Perfect. Thank you for watching as well or listening. If you did enjoy this video, please do like, subscribe, as it really helps me out. And we'll catch you lot in the next one. See you later. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.